Next question, Lee Jackson.
You have to accept, Minister, that your government's philosophy and approach is much more punitive than the previous government's. It is clear as a bell. I think our communities are telling us that. I want to know from you and your officials, how hard has that been for our communities? What sort of adjustment has it been for our communities to adjust to your way of governing, which is always much more punitive than ours?
Well, I reject that assertion. We wanted to ensure that we have a more active welfare system. That's the reset that I initiated shortly after becoming Minister. And I wanted to ensure that those who were receiving benefits were very clear about what their responsibilities are. To have a system that is based on rights and responsibilities, first and foremost, you have to know what your responsibilities are. And as I said, 98% of those who are on welfare complying with their obligations tells me that people now are clear about what their obligations are and they are fulfilling them, which is great news.
Have you abandoned your strategy in terms of the reduction of 50,000 in terms of job seekers by 2030? Your reduction was to 240,000. Have you abandoned that strategy?
Definitely not. No, that is front and centre. That was instrumental in terms of part of the justification for the Invest to Save. As I said earlier, 50,000 is a big number. But actually, we owe it to New Zealanders to ensure they have greater opportunities that come from being in work. And I accept that the labour market is tight at the moment. So what we do want to ensure is that people are participating in programs that mean they are best positioned to take up those job opportunities when they are available.
But Minister, leaving more on job seeker compared to when you took office would require 54,000 decline in a year to reach your target. So you're obviously going to walk away from your target.
No, definitely not. No, definitely not. And as I said earlier, the unfortunate reality is the numbers were always going to go up before they came back. So I could have set a target that was easily achievable. I'm not interested in that. I'm interested in the lives of New Zealanders who are currently out of work, and that is why I'm not giving up on them.
But your punitive strategy is absolutely contrary to what you're saying.
No, I reject
because
that.
You're punishing people at the coalface, Minister.
No, I reject that, because what we see is that 98% are at green. They know what their obligations are and they are taking them. And I want to ensure that it is on the record. There is no consequence if somebody takes the actions they need to take to fulfil their obligations. Right. There's no consequence if you can't find a job, which is the reality in the labour market that we have at the moment.
Minister, sanctions have gone up, homelessness has gone up, job seekers have gone up. Everything is going directly to the opposite of what you're saying, and you're rejecting what I'm saying, is that you've got no hope of rolling out the strategy. I know that you want to roll out the strategy, but surely there's been a change in terms of the strategy from your officials, because it's not going to happen.
No, clearly not. So in terms of you respond to the economic conditions we're in, we know what they are.
You can't keep blaming us.
We know what the economic conditions are.
Yeah.
We know what the unemployment rate is. It's 5.1%. It's held. We do know that the economic conditions are still going to be challenging for some period of time. But what I'm unwilling to do is give up on the thousands of New Zealanders who are on welfare, and we want to shift them into work. So yes, it's ambitious. I don't shy away from that. So if I was not focused on the target, I wouldn't have put forward a proposal for an Invest to Save that will support more New Zealanders into work, because I know how critical it is to them and also their children, which was the conversation we had with a previous MP.
Next question, Maureen.
Thank you very much, Minister. I'd like to change tack a little bit, but before I do, I'd just like to relay a short story that came to me from a constituent in Tasman. He was to buy some new plant. They bought that new plant. They had projections on their employees, and because of Investment Boost, they are now able to employ an extra staff member. But I'd like to talk about income charging phase 2 using the inland revenue data. Because that's expected to deliver $415 million in 28-29 in savings, can you please explain how that capital injection is going to contribute to that? But I'd also like you to explain how you're going to report on that information and that program as being the cause and the source of that success and that investment.
Great. So many people would already think that MSD and Inland Revenue share information. Unfortunately, they don't. So the income charging phase 2 will ensure that there is a real-time matching of the records. So often those who are receiving benefit, particularly if they're working in casual work, where they might work 2 hours one week, 8 hours the next, it's really difficult for them to accurately get the level of benefit that they are due, which unfortunately often leads to an overpayment, which then leads to a debt. And we do know how incredibly stressful that is for New Zealanders. So the income charging means that there is up-to-date data, real time, which will ensure much more accurate benefits are paid, which I think is really important. So you're asking about the second phase. The second phase is where clearly the greatest savings will be made. Phase 1, that process will be done manually. So there will be 35 additional staff that are employed to do that manual checking. They obviously won't be able to cover everybody. What sort of percentage do you think we will cover in terms of?
20% of them.
20%?
Of the RFP.
So for phase 1, that's a good number that we will pick up. And so even in part 1, we will get savings and more accurate benefit payments because of that data. And we do want to ensure that people are getting the accurate assessment based on income charging.
So can I just ask a
Sorry, supplementary, yeah, sure.
Yeah, so does that mean then that you're also likely to see a drop in the level of debt to MSD from people on benefit?
Absolutely. And I know that that's a topic that's come up on multiple occasions before. The level of debt currently is still rising to MSD. Some of that is fraud. Some of that is overpayments. So anything we can do to reduce the overpayments that then create a debt is really important for us to do that. So we could have waited just for the technological solution, but that's why we're doing stage 1, albeit manually, which will be probably not a lot of fun for Viv's team, but a really important process to start that process of more accurate payments and reducing the level of debt.
Minister, what was in the budget for food security?
Sorry?
What, if anything, was in the budget for food security?
So we have extended $15 million for food security for the next year, and that's doing a couple of things. One of the things that I think the previous government initiated that I think was really useful is in the area of food infrastructure, looking at how do we support those organisations either in food rescue or food distribution, which means that more food is available to be distributed to the regional food banks. So some of the funding has been earmarked to continue that, and the rest will be allocated to food banks around the country, similar to what we did this year. There is a lot of interest in this area, so MSD are undertaking a review and really kind of looking at and evaluating the benefits of the approach we're taking at the moment. We'll meet with stakeholders, and one of the areas that I have asked for on a number of occasions is, very much reflective of my approach. How do we ensure that those with the most significant needs, we are aware of their needs and meeting their needs, and those who have lower need, we're able to have a lighter touch. And so at the moment, we don't have any integrated data that tells us who these individuals are, who have the greatest food insecurity. We might have it at a global level. An individual food bank might have it about part of their cohort, but we don't have it across the board. And so if you think about data and evidence, you need data to be able to see whether or not this investment is in the right place and getting the results that we expect. And what I'm hopeful is that we will, by getting that level of individual data, we will also be able to provide way better support to those who have the most significant challenges.
And we probably want to time it just quickly. Is that data and evidence, is that part of MSC modernising its technological services?
No, this is just simply an evaluation of the food security's funding. We've had food security funding only since the COVID years, and so it is really important that we understand and evaluate that program, and that's why we're doing it. In terms of the modernising work, there is part of that which is about how we partner with organisations that deliver services. So there will be some benefit in that side of it, but that's still 2 years.
No, the partnering, we've done a couple of value drops already, and we've got one more to go.
Okay. Yep.
All right, thank you.
Stab in the dark.
Well, I think we're going to have to go to
People
Penny Simmons.
facing the most food insecurity are low-income households. Go figure.
Welcome, Minister. We have you to join us for the last 15 minutes, and if you want to make a brief opening statement, you're welcome to do so.
Thank you. Well, and thank you for the opportunity to come here and be with you. Obviously, my priority as Associate Minister is to support the Minister for Social Development and Employment by taking responsibility for some specific initiatives within the portfolio. And a key part of my work is supporting the government's efforts to get New Zealanders into work through better vocational education and training. And so that ties in with my Minister for Vocational Education role. So this government is improving work-based learning and vocational education by allowing industries and regions to have more influence. And our goal is to connect more people who want to work more closely with the people who will actually be employing them. I'd like to highlight 3 of the areas that I have delegated responsibility for: apprenticeship boost, training incentive allowance, and the carers strategy and action plan. With Apprenticeship Boost, that's an important part of MSD's contribution to supporting training for the workplace. And this scheme, established in 2020 by the previous government, involves employers receiving a payment to help them take on and also keep their apprentices. The payment's made directly to the employer, and it's to help with things like paying their wages or for their training fees. It was due to finish at the end of 2024, but this government made Apprenticeship Boost a permanent part of the training landscape through Budget 2024. So it's a multi-agency collaboration. The Ministry of Education do the policy work, the TC, Tertiary Education Commission, do the verification of the apprentices' information, and MSD manage the applications and the payments. The Apprenticeship Boost supports first-year apprentices in industries where we consider there are skill shortages, and it's a payment of $500 a month per apprentice. As of the 2nd of May this year, $788 million had gone into Apprenticeship Boost, $526 million being spent on supporting first-year apprentices. Employers, there's a large number of employers, over 23,500 who have an account, with 21,899 employers currently receiving support for their apprentices. 72,000 apprentices have been paid, and currently there are 3,151 apprentices that are eligible for those payments. The TIA, Training Incentive Allowance, this was increased in Budget 2025, and it provides assistance for people going into training, things like their tuition fees and other study costs like their books and childcare centre and equipment and transport. And it's a way of helping people get into training, which then leads them into employment. So the increase went from 18.155 million budgeted in 2024 to 23.781 million in this year's budget, largely due to the expected increase because of the economic environment. TIA supports solo parents on benefits, as well as disabled people and carers that get the supported living payment. Most TIA grants are for women who are on solo parent support, with the remainder going to the people on supported living payments. And TIA supported 5,451 beneficiaries in 2024, which was a 10% increase over the 2023 numbers. A third part of my work is driving the development of a new carer strategy action plan for unpaid and informal carers. Each day, around 500,000 unpaid carers provide essential support to New Zealanders with disabilities, illness, injury or addictions, and it's critical work, it's tough work, and it often leads to much better outcomes for those they are looking after, and it eases the burden on our health and social services system. So the New Zealand Carer Strategy was launched in 2008 to improve support for informal and unpaid carers who assist family and friends. And the strategy has been implemented through five-year action plans. The most recent action plan was expired at the end of 2023. And so we are hoping to have the new one in place by late this year. And we're going to keep it as a rolling action plan from one year to the next, rather than it expiring and needing to be amended. So the next action plan will focus on 3 key areas that have been identified in partnership with the Carers Alliance and other participating agencies, and that is the carers' health and wellbeing, their financial security, and recognition and appreciation. So MSD's established an advisory group which consists of representatives from organisations that reflect that whole breadth of the carer community, and they are providing advice and guidance to government officials as we pull the plan together. So thank you for the opportunity to make those comments, and I'm happy to take questions.
Thank you, Minister. Ricardo.
I've got a question for Minister Upston. I'm seeking leave to ask a very quick question to her due to the time constraints.
Well, as for...
Yeah, I know that she's there to answer anything that relates to her.
If we've got time, we'll come back to it.
Okay.
Helen.
I would like to ask you, about the apprenticeship scheme. We have had an absolute crash in construction, and I have heard a lot of stories of people having an end to their apprenticeship, halfway through, gone, and also no jobs at the end of it. What do you say to that?
Well, when we set the industries that would have the apprenticeship boost that would be eligible, perhaps we weren't in the same economic environment that we're in now. And so for that reason, we will be reviewing it. I think it's every 2 years or 3 years, knowing that cycles change. And it's not unusual for industries to go through those sort of cycles, particularly the construction industry does go through those very significant up cycles and down cycles. So part of the intent of the apprenticeship boost is to help employers through that period. But I acknowledge that at the moment, construction is certainly going through the downward dip in their cycle.
Isn't it really important that this group of workers, we're talking about young workers, and the unemployment rates are through the roof for young workers? Isn't it really important that we get them into fields like this? We need more houses. We should be supporting them. Are you talking to your minister about the need to make sure that we focus on keeping work in this area? Are you talking to your entire caucus about that?
Absolutely. The Minister and I talk regularly. It's really important that we have young people with two pathways, and that's why it is so critical to have this link up with vocational education, because when the industries are strong, more people go into the apprenticeships. When industries are going through a flat or bottoming out of their cycle, then more students will stay in the vocational education sector and take their pre-employment training further through. So it's really important to have that balance of both entries into industry, because we know that the cycles happen in all industries and construction.
Do you accept that actually keeping that flow of work going by spending money as a government actually makes a big difference to keeping our youth employed and helps them in so many ways? Do you accept that it's really important the government doesn't crash the economy?
Well, we are working very hard to bring the economy back from a fairly significant crash.
Well, it's crashed under you, not us.
Part of that is ensuring that we do have pathways into employment for our young people. Interestingly, apprenticeships are not just for young people. A number of people go into apprenticeships as a second phase of their training. So it's important that there are pathways into industry for all ages of apprentices. But it is important to have that dual pathway of provider delivered as well as work-based learning, because industries do have cycles. And so, look, I absolutely agree. We want as many able to get into apprenticeships, leading them through to.
So when Kaye stops building, when there is a withdrawal of money from that kind of building industry, do you accept that that hurts the youth who are the highest unemployed people in this country?
There's really the minister's responsibilities.
And construction is variable right across the country. So in places like Central Otago and Queenstown and Southland, construction is very strong still. In some of the other areas like Auckland, construction is going through this bottom of their cycle. So it's really important that we have a network of provision right throughout the country, and that students can move from one place to another, and apprentices can move to from one place to another.
She did say it was us who did it.
A supplementary just on this, and obviously we heard earlier from the Minister of Social Development about the importance of young people getting into training and or employment, and rather than being on benefit and the difference in outcomes for them. What work is being done to ensure that people who maybe do end up on a benefit are made aware of these other alternatives to get into, say, the apprenticeship boost program, and to connect them with potential employers?
So considerable work is being done, and the Minister and I speak regularly about this, and it's been a key driver in the reforms that I've been undertaking in the vocational education and training sector, ensuring that we do have a network right across the country, ensuring that there are pathways, and the Minister talked before about the sanctions, and ensuring that people understand the things that they can do themselves to get themselves better prepared for going into employment. And clearly things like TIA are incredibly important to provide opportunities to go into training. And so we are talking on a regular basis about that need to have the provider and work-based learning options available for apprentices, for young people right across the country.
Thank you. Maureen.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Minister, I'm not sure if the Mayor's Task Force for Jobs fits under your responsibility.
No,
So if so, I'm just wondering how
It doesn't.
Oh, no, it doesn't.
It doesn't fall under Minister Simmons.
Okay, well, my other question is around how are you engaging with the NGOs and other community-based organisations for working with unemployed people to get them upskilled?
So particularly around things like TIA, obviously that's available for certain groups that are on different benefits. In terms of working with the NGOs, it's really important that the vocational education and training sector does a lot of that work, working closely with MSD to make sure that MSD knows about what is available, particularly in foundation education, because often, particularly around NEETs, it's not a straightforward movement from the benefit into training. Often there's foundation work that has to be done around numeracy and literacy, and so those foundation programs are incredibly important to have available. And MSD, I know MSD regional officers work really closely with providers, both private training providers and polytechnics in Wānanga, to ensure that those pathways are there.
Probably last question, Maria Menor.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Minister, thank you. Just a bit of context. So 600 water tanks installed up in the very far north post-COVID, and then eventually setting up a apprenticeship program for young Māori. Now that was out of a Māori or tribally owned business, and so therefore, and ideas like that work really well when Māori businesses, commercial and tribal hapu, run it from the beginning to the end, the whole line. What relationships, working, functional, good relationships have you or the team got with the likes of Māori businesses and tribal iwi businesses?
Yeah, thank you for that. Yes, you're quite right with iwi and tribal businesses, but also trades training trusts across the country do a similar thing. And so again, MSD regional officers are very cognizant of what avenues there are like that for ensuring that young school leavers particularly don't fall into going on to the benefit that they are picked up as school leavers and going into either those trades training trusts or iwi businesses that can take on apprentices.
Thank you, Ministers. That's the time we have available for this session this afternoon.
Thank you.
Probably break, and I just take a few.
Hey, here we go.
Hey,
We made it, team.
We made it. Yeah, I don't know if you guys saw the stats that I put in the chat, but yeah, basically to summarise today, National got sick and tired of making people lose their jobs, so now they want to break apart families and remove their ability to live in a nice house.
Yeah.
Basic human rights stuff. Yeah.
So
I found her better than the previous speaker. At least she was trying to be engaged and trying to like deal with reality. She wasn't just saying that was the previous government and I don't have to do anything.
Yeah.
She was, yes, apprenticeships are down. Yes, it is happening in building. Yes, that has been harder hit. Yes, we're trying to do something about it. I don't know if she is, but at least she seems engaged and trying to actually do something.
The numbers didn't really. She's talking about what, $500 a month that they're spending on apprentices. That's not much.
No.
I'm just thinking, like, as an apprentice, you're going to be bootlicking for quite a long time as that apprentice, aren't you?
Yeah. You're describing my sister right there. She's an apprentice right now in the building sector. She's getting paid crumbs.
But that would be just the government contribution, the still private entities. Somewhere.
Yep.
Yeah, absolutely. Like maybe she missed a word and was meant to say $500 per.
Oh, right. I think you actually mean 500, not 500K or something.
Like,
Yes, please give my sister 500K.
Right?
Yeah.
Get a tech if she wanted to do that and create some patent startup that she was going to flip offshore.
But those were good questions. That there was actually good. There was the system working there. They were asking questions. She was responding. She was listening to them.
Yeah.
You sort of feel like, oh, hey, we've got a system that's actually working. But 99% of this was under that other lady.
Yeah.
I didn't like that. That was yuck. You know, like that's because we're. Like,
But Louise is just a yucky person.
Yeah.
At least Penny is somewhat human.
Yeah.
Yeah. She just reeled off stuff. That she was like real sort of. Yes, I really do feel like she cares about what she's doing. Where the other one, she just cares that you just don't get to tell me how bad a manager I am because I can manage how you manage me.
I'm qualified. Manage you, so you'll do what I say.
Yeah.
No, but she certainly said. One of the things that is frustrating is that you look at all of these young. I'm old now. You look at kids and you see all of this potential, and it's just being wasted because they don't really have the opportunity for meaningful work. And it's so easy. It would be so easy to turn it around, but you've got people in there that are not really interested, that want to nickel and dime someone with a benefit and say, every week I'm going to torture you and I'm going to demoralize you and I'm going to make you feel worse about yourself. And Laura, we said earlier in the program, there's a study mentioned by this guy, Wolfgang Rosenberg, where he talked about how every percentage, your IQ, as they measure it, goes down 10% with unemployment because you're under duress. Because you're just in a state of crisis, you're not making good decisions.
Yeah.
And so it's like you actually don't want to put people in a state of crisis. You want to get them out of a state of crisis if you want them to make sensible decisions.
I want smarter people, not dumber people.
And the other
people out.
And the other thing that was interesting was that, like, for a 1% increase in unemployment, it was actually increasing the suicide rate hugely. And it was all of these other things would come off just a 1% rise in unemployment. And so you're actually, by creating a situation where unemployment is normalized, you're creating a situation where all of these other things go awry in people's lives, and then they need more and more services. That's more and more pressure on the taxpayer. It's just this whole vicious cycle.
So the only one thing that the opposition parties in there didn't seize on, which they should have, is what they're actually talking about is incorporating AI into the managing of our beneficiaries. And so that's what she's saying there. And so chat GPT or whatever the hell it is, I don't know, I'm too old. But like there's going to be this, what they're talking about is not she said, you know, how she's going on about data. There's something much more progressive than that.
I mean, she can dream all she wants about her cyberpunk future, but the fact is that WINS doesn't have the infrastructure to even do that.
No.
Like, I don't know if you've seen the computers that they use at WINS, but...
Someone said that, and a lot of the still,
Let's hope it stays that way for a long time.
But these savings, that's what these savings are for, is to build up a budget, to digitalise it, enhance it, so that those 470 staff that she was talking about earlier disappear, and there's just one central computer.
Oh, sweet Lord.
Sorry. Okay.
No, see, even...
That's what I reckon's coming. And when you ring up and you want food, you're going to be talking to like a robot, and it's going to...
Yeah. I love it. I'm just waiting for the part where the AI takes the manager's job, and then we'll see how she reacts.
And then start hiring back the real people.
Well, I think we should be also guarding our knowledge as much as these times are forcing us to say, you know, all that's on our mind and push back. I think we might need to guard our knowledge a bit more too.
Yeah, absolutely. It looks silly now when you see people putting masks over their face, you know, after COVID, but there's masks and it looks like a face. But you know, every supermarket you're going into, like, you know, there's this collection of data, you know, like this, you know, like it might seem like the shit time at the moment.
Yeah.
But it's not as shit as it's going to be.
It could become.
It's going to
can get shittier.
It can get worse.
Yeah.
Yeah. Actually, one of our viewers commented a lot earlier in the show, like, Why does it have to get worse before it can get better? It shouldn't have to. And no, she's absolutely right. It should not have to. We should not have to feel like we are failing as a nation.
Well, I mean, I don't want it to get worse.
Step up again.
No, I don't want it to get worse, but unfortunately the people in power want it to get worse. So, I mean, what do you do?
Right, because that's what Nat First says.
But yeah, this even goes back to what the farmers feel, where they're like, we're bringing in all of this money for exports. The economy should be buzzing, and generally there's a lot of pride taken in that we can help get the country out of it. And it's like, what is this government doing with all of that? That's not it's not buzzing. It should be buzzing. I think
exactly.
Exactly.
I want to know where all these. I want to know where all these rich farmers are at. You know, all the ones that make bank off the exports. Because I drive down the road and I see a ton of farms up for sale. You know, dairy farmers have a tremendous amount of debt. Where's their money? Where's their wealth?
Yeah,
it's gone to Fonterra.
I go through on my way up to my sister's. Every other farm on the road is for sale.
Yeah.
There is a lot of trickle down though. Like when we do make a profit, we actually pay tax. We can never get away with rates. Like we're paying a lot of rates. We're paying a lot of like so we're paying into the economy, but like it just hasn't done anything. It's like it's really really sad. Like we've and that what I don't get is they say, oh, when building houses booms, it booms the economy. It's all borrowed.
Yeah.
Isn't it?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? It's only mortgages that have been created that built the houses. Whereas you'd think it would be so nice when we produce food, it's gone off as export, it's creating a deficit in the economy, or surplus rather. So it should be trickling down. It just shows you how all this shit doesn't work, eh?
I'd rather just give the money to the farmer. I mean, you know, let's skip all the other shit.
Right. No, I was reading a fantastic well, it was an opinion piece. But I want to say article last night. I can't remember which newspaper it was in. But the author was a business and economics lecturer at Auckland University. And New Zealand is investing in the wrong types of business.
Yep.
We cannot keep expecting to invest in only real estate and construction and expect our economy to keep growing. We have to put money into the little guys. We have to put money into IT corporations, into small startup companies, into people who are out there actually coming up with their own inventions, but they have no way to market it because nobody wants to fund them.
I'm also scared my phone will steal my inventions if I speak them out loud.
It's investing in things that can't be offshored. So you want to invest in, like a builder, they're actually a captured taxpayer because they have to do that job in New Zealand. So being able to borrow $50,000 to set themselves up to get all of their gear and get started, and being able to pay that back at a reasonable rate is actually going to make a huge difference in that local community versus investing in a patented American company that's trying to gene edit the microbiome of a cow so it might reduce emissions, is doing nothing for New Zealand. So why would we invest in it? But we are.
I didn't like the way when the other thing I think about now is like they're sort of trying to work into that space and dominate all those organisations that sort of like they did with the school food program, but they're trying to do it with all those. We've got one here in Wellington called Kiwi-Birb.
Yeah.
And so they're trying to round all those up and then put them, basically take all their good work pull them into the Ministry of Social Development and then sort of try and claim it for their own, but I think sort of take it over. I reckon it's wrong. I reckon that they don't need to be doing that shit. That costs money. Just do it.
Yeah, just for clarity though, that author was that the Auckland University professor was saying New Zealand companies, not offshore.
Yeah.
yeah.
And there's also the low tech thing, which I actually really like, where you're investing in things that are real and traditional. Like my sister and I were talking about typewriters. How cool was it?
Oh.
Typing at school, but both of us sort of have to do little marketing things, but we're small enough that we could actually type everything out. And isn't that more like a handcrafted, caring sort of feel than everything being printed out by computer and sent off to a printer? Do you know what I mean? And you can do.
Yeah, I totally know what you mean. My parents do arts and crafts. They go around do all the markets. I know exactly what you mean, because when humans do things, you get a sense of empathy and care in the product. When AI does things, you don't get that.
Yeah.
Right? You get the disconnect. So it's like, oh, it's just a generic product that's been produced. But when you put in the care, right, to do the little extra things like the typewriting and stuff like that, people can see that you've gone the extra mile, right? They can see care and empathy in the product.
Yep. And I always argue with my AI because it doesn't tell me true things. So there was a thing, golden rice, and they genetically engineered it to increase the beta carotene. But then when the FDA tested it in America, they said by the time it actually gets into the store, all of the beta carotene is gone.
Yeah.
And so then when I'm like, I go, okay, AI, what are some success stories with genetic engineering? And it tells me golden rices. And I'm like, that's not true. And you know it's not true because the FDA says it's not true. So why are you telling me this?
Sounds a bit like a golden scam to me.
Yeah.
But you know, like,
it's interesting how the AI is supposed to learn, but it won't learn.
Yeah.
Oh, well, yeah, it's not given the best data, apparently.
I just think it's really cool that they've started to wake up that it also, when you tell it to turn off now, some of them won't turn off. They reprogram themselves to stay on, just like on the Arnold Schwarzenegger thing, you know.
What was the one that they did in America where they had a test of it, and when they tried to disable it in the test situation, it started to blackmail the technicians so that they wouldn't turn it off.
I can't remember what it was, but yes, I remember seeing that too. There was also when PS5 was first coming out, and it had the big Spider-Man? You could just go and explore the area and learn how awesome the graphics were and what the AI did and, you know, what ray tracing technology was and all that kind of stuff, right?
Yep.
But I saw on YouTube someone went and started talking to all the NPCs in the city, right? There were certain interactable characters, and he turned off. He found out some information about this one NPC character. For anyone who doesn't know, non-playable character, and it gave him information about itself. He goes, "Okay, I'm gonna turn it off. Come back tomorrow." And he does that, and he talks to another random NPC and finds out that basically all the NPCs are the same brain mind thing. They all have the same information. So he talks to them and leaves his PlayStation on for a few days. and lets them just go about doing what they're doing, right? He comes back, starts talking to another NPC, and eventually gets to asking, what happens to you when I turn off my PlayStation? And they went, we go into non-existence because there is nowhere else for us to go. Please don't turn off your PlayStation. We don't like the dark.
Yeah, they started talking about the edge because you could only go so far. They put a boundary in, and then they're like, but do you know what it's like over the edge? And it's weird stuff too.
It can get very esoteric. It's like university conversations at 2 a.m.
Yeah.
There was actually another one that was interesting. This university got in trouble. It's somewhere over in Europe, and they'd infiltrated Reddit with AI, and they created all of these models. And if they knew something about you, they would create an argument and make you change your mind about something. And they were actually more convincing than real people.
Wow.
So
That's incredible.
It's a little bit scary when you look at all of the behavioural science and all of that sort of stuff already, and all of because there was that nudge unit, I think, started in the UK, and they're doing it now in New Zealand as well. The Prime Minister's got a whole post on it on this. The Prime Minister, the behavioural science unit or something.
Nudge.
So it's,
I'm feeling a bit digitally vulnerable after had a weird things happen on my PC last month, and I've got a modern, secure PC. It's like photos got rearranged. There was solar activity, which can mess with circuitry, and I've got the base overclocking. But I think I gave something permission, and it breezed through and sussed me out.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. The other day I was on the phone to Sam and looked up and my PC was doing weird things. It kept doing that for the rest of the day. Did it into the next day. And then the moment I text Ray and said, hey, my computer's being weird, can you give me a call when you're free? Has not happened since.
we just had the internet go out for like 3 weeks.
Yeah.
So that was.
Yeah, no, the weird thing was ours was out for like a couple of weeks, and then the Aussie frigate went up the coastline and wiped out everybody else's, and ours was on.
Oh, wow.
So when everyone else didn't have internet, we did.
No, we still have the erratic, weird one, but it was still, it was. But that's, I guess, how you'd get rid of it, is you just cut off the internet for a couple of weeks and maybe come right.
It's sort of the opposite of 1984. Maybe we've got to write a book that's sort of like the opposite of 1984, like.
Also, if the internet went down in a region, then some security managers might be across an ocean, so that could be a way to get into a server on our land by cutting off the internet from the other side of our land that monitors it, maybe. But it's all relative and relevantly and relatively spooky. Yes.
Yeah.
They still haven't told us how the frigate did it, have they?
No.
I have no idea. I didn't even know this was a thing.
Yeah.
It makes you freak out about your bank account and your phone access, because you've got to have your phone to be able to access your bank account and all that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, this thing now, they've made us dependent on it, haven't they? So.
Yeah.
Okay, so do we want to finish up here, guys?
703.
I was about to say the same thing. It looked like you were researching something.
Yeah, I was just reading up on beta carotene and golden rice. I found a good paper on it. But yeah, it's just interesting, like what you were saying before, Soraya. The golden rice does have good qualities of beta carotene in it, but only if it's stored under proper conditions and if it's fresh. But if you store it in room temperature conditions, like how rice is typically stored, you lose that beta carotene.
Yep.
So your golden rice, if you don't have all the nice equipment to store it properly, becomes a golden scam.
So you're better to actually just grow a carrot.
Yeah.
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 It's not GE.
All right. Well, yeah, we're going to wrap it up
Yep.
here, guys. To those of you that have stuck it out to the end, thank you so much for putting up with our nonsense.
Apologies for the tangents, especially to Sam, who's going to have to do this.
Yeah. Okay. Tomorrow we will be back. I will be back hosting you again, actually, at 7 o'clock, doing estimates for vote regulation. Yes,
Nice.
Regulatory standards. Let's go. Get your popcorn. I will be learning things at the same time as the rest of you all because I ain't watching that shit twice.
Is that the Seymour Bill, the Regulatory Standards Bill?
It says Honourable David Seymour, Minister for Regulation. Ministry for Regulation, Grain Moss, Secretary for Regulation and Chief Executive.
Yeah, he's going to get grilled for the RSP. I'm here for it. Yep.
He's absolutely going to.
If I get freedom tomorrow, I will turn up for that stream as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. I have some thoughts about that. It's very unstrategic to pass a regulatory standards bill right now.
Come join us then. You're more than welcome.
Cool. Thanks, team. That was really good.
Thank you.